Hey everyone, it is like 1 a.m. and I just finished my 7th Joseph McElroy novel, Hind's Kidnap. Also his 7th novel that he's written, his 2nd novel that he's written. Okay, now this novel, in my opinion, is the best introduction to Joseph McElroy. Now that's gonna piss you off for those of you who are not in the know, and the reason that's gonna piss you off is because it's his most expensive and rare novel. I bought this one cheap for $100. Let me repeat that. I bought this one cheap for $100. I saw this going for like $300. I know some of the other novels do as well, but this one, from what I hear, is extremely rare, and this is the only print edition out there for it. Now, what makes this one so accessible? If you want to get into Lookout cartridge, this is like a proto Lookout cartridge. This is also really a proto Letters Left to Me, but there's kind of a trilogy going on where you have Actors in the House, Lookout cartridge, and Hind's Kidnap. Well, those three Joseph McElroy novels are like the most similar. And this one, I feel, is the impetus for what he was trying to really get across in Lookout cartridge later on, and even some of the most difficult things. And this novel, structurally, for a McElroy novel, it is very simple. It is very simple. You can follow it. There's clear delineations between plot structures. Like, for example, first part of the novel takes place in the dark. Second part takes place, I just forgot. Second part, on a pastoral farm and everything. The next one takes place at a college. There's an intermittent section where it's like he mimics the last chapter in Ulysses, where it takes place from the wife's perspective, and it's just a bunch of run-on sentences, and he does that part, and it just follows a clear, defined path like that. So you're not getting the jumbled confusion that you are with other McElroy books. Now for the plot, exactly, it's a character named Hind trying to investigate a kidnap. That's the core impetus of the plot. Like a lot of other McElroy novels, like Actors in the House, it's not so much about the plot in itself. The plot is just a vehicle and a framework, and to show off the interactions that Hind has in his life. So, while he's looking for this child, and this kidnap is like been a cold case, he's dropped it before, and it's a situation where, like, dude, this kid's probably dead. Or, like, what are you gonna do when he finds it? Like, he's so far removed from his parents, his kidnappers are pretty much his parents. And Hind's like, if nobody else finds it, then this kid is pretty much lost, so I have to do it. And it just puts a strain on his life, and he starts looking at people as leads. It puts a strain on his marriage. He's just kind of so preoccupied with this kidnap. But a lot of it also has to do with his relationship of his, what is called the guardian, earlier in his life. And his guardian, was a wise man, scholarly, put Hind into athletics, taught him a lot about the world, taught him a lot about sports and everything. So you have that simple framework, and you just go through all these character interactions. And I won't get too much into the necessarily individual ones, because that's what the bulk of the story is, to be completely honest. It's not like something like Lookout cartridge where like, wait, what is the plot? It's, again, very McElroyian, where things are not resolved. There's a lot more questions than answers in the book. But again, this is a perfect introduction for. So, for example, there's mysterious characters like an old woman called him Oriental. I know that's out of place, but that's how it's defined in the book. Is just like that King of the Hill joke. Hind literally says, "I didn't know if they were Chinese or Japanese." But he has all these mysterious characters in the book that are kind of leading him and giving him cues, and like he might be getting cues from a secret organization in college, but he never comes to a conclusion. He never finds the person at the end of the book. And, and a really way to drive it home that is less ambiguous in other books, that there's a list in journal entries that will answer questions at the end of the book as well. And, McElroy uses a lot of the second person. He switches a lot. He changes time period a lot without letting you know. It's just such a great primer for what he wants to do later on, while not throwing you into, like, the delves of it and, like, find yourself. For the average reader, it's going to be a bit more intensive than an average novel, but it really has all the McElroyian elements just kind of like on a more simplified basis, even more so than Cannonball. Cannonball was tough. I thought that was a good introduction, but like Cannonball is a lot more difficult than this book. So this is the book to start off with McElroy. And, it just has a lot of great character moments. Like, it's an older gentleman, conversing with his friends at the fitness club, reminiscing about his times in athletic sports, his relationship with the wife, his relationship with his parent, his parental figure. Also, funny note, a lot of his friends, because I'm pretty sure this takes place in Europe, a lot of his friends have female first names, which is really interesting. Not every male character does. The only one who kind of doesn't might be Dewey, but if all the people close to McElroy have very feminine names, but then like you see that as a stark contrast with other figures having the name like Grimes or Plant and stuff like that. And there's one point where Hind kind of comments that like all the people I know have weird ass names, which is pretty funny. But a major theme of this book is kidnap, and in the McElroy fashion, the symbology is just a little skewed off, so it's not a direct one-to-one, but because it's more about the process of finding this kid's parents, but at the same time, it's more the process of the Hind finding kind of his own parental figures as well, and questioning, what is parentalhood? What is a parental figure? Now, this part is gonna include spoilers. It's like the only real legit spoiler in the book, but it's imperative to talk about it. So, end of the book, Hind's guardian is his father. So Frank Hind and his wife were married, and then the guardian comes in and has an affair with the wife, and that produces Hind. And the husband is not happy about this, so the guardian adopts him and never tells Hind. And he finds out at the end of the book, and he's like, why was I never told this? Why didn't he tell me this? And you never get an answer. And again, that's a direct parallel to the kidnap, where it's like, dude, this kid, it's been decades. The kidnappers are more of his parents than his actual parents. And at one point, the kidnapper does even call Hind and say like, hey man, leave us alone. He doesn't want to leave. He's our son. And you see that strewn throughout the book. So with Hind, like, what is a parental figure? This guy took care of me, but he didn't tell me he was a parent. I didn't see him that way, but I always saw him as my father. What about the kidnapped person? What about the strained relationship with other kids' sons in the book? What about Hind's wife, who has a very strong father figure in her life, and it's a little overbearing, but then because her and Hind are getting a relationship and they get married, the guardian becomes like a father figure to her life. So she has like two father figures. What about May, who doesn't really have Hind too much in her life as well? What about another friend where he's scared of everything and didn't want Hind getting a divorce for some reason? And it just goes to ruminate on the aspects of just placement of children. So kidnap, it's a metaphor, but not a direct metaphor, because McElroy wants to think about the process and just that aspect of what is the parent-child relationship. It's obviously not bound to biologies, but even if you go past the adopted level, it's a very confused, muddled mess with not really a clear answer, and that's something that more we should ruminate on. Now, one aspect that blew my mind for a second, and then I was disappointed. This, I thought, was a prequel to Letters Left to Me, because there was a letter in the book that Hind's guardian writes that the dean at his college disseminates throughout the school, because like a guardian dies, obviously, but I think he was alive at that point. So I was like, holy crap! I was messaging my friends, this is a prequel. Unfortunately, it's more of a prototype, because when I went back and looked at the quotes in Letters Left to Me from the letter, because this book actually shows the full letter, it doesn't line up. So I thought Letters Left to Me was a prequel, but it's not that, unfortunately. It's weird that he uses this in such a one-to-one, because when you read it and you get to that section at the end of the book, it's like, dude, this is just Letters Left to Me. What the hell? But it's not. So it's just a very strange choice. I wonder if he felt like he didn't do it appropriately, so he wanted to redo it later on, or I don't know what McElroy was thinking, but it's just kind of an interesting, it's not even an echo, it's almost just like a direct copy of himself, which is weird. Oh well. But yeah, Hind's Kidnap is a really great book, really great primer into McElroy. Super expensive. However, Dzanc Books, keep an eye out, because they might release a reprint of this in August, which will be great because it will get more people to read McElroy and Hind's Kidnap, and this book won't be so dang inaccessible anymore. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And if you want to get into the McElroy, read Hind's Kidnap first, because the thing is, Smuggler's Bible, I found it boring, and I don't find too many parallels. Like, I can find the seeds, but like, it's not so indicative of his latest stuff as well. Hind's Kidnap is, though. And So that's the one I'm gonna do. Because look at cartridge and stuff like that. It's too difficult. Littlest Left to Me, I love it, but it's not full McElroyian. It's very simplified, and there's a lot of elements that he does leave out. There's some elements he leaves in, but this is gonna be like the full McElroy experience on a more simplified level without getting rid of his major themes. So definitely check out Hind's Kidnap when it gets reprinted. Here's McElroy in a turtleneck looking like a nerd. And yeah. Also, this dude's like 6'7" in the book, and it comments on him a lot. But damn.
Next and final stop, Oceanside Transit Centre.